What do you prefer? Like some crazy hood ghetto name or Obama? I'm like, I'll stick with
Yeah, I'll
Obama.
go. Disappointing when you have people that like get to the top and instead of like empowering the community, you're doing this.
Being in the farm, I loved being in a farm, goats, cows, everywhere. I was just like,
You're a real
massive
village
acre.
boy, yeah?
I was a village boy, man. I'm not allowed to enter into a house. I'm not allowed to eat her food. I'm not allowed. I just told him everything, and I cried, and and he grabs me by the hand, and I was banging on the window to try to get their attention. I was like, yo, and they were just having fun and talking shit, and like I was in this truck, and they don't even know that I'm here.
What's up, guys? Before we get into this week's episode, I have a little announcement to make. We are doing a giveaway. Thanks to Capital Touring Australia and Club 333, we're giving out 2 general admission tickets to Rema's concert that's happening on the 10th of October. So that's next Thursday. This is like the perfect segue into summer. So if you love your Afro beats, if you just want to be outside, make sure you follow us on Instagram at bittersweet.podcast. We'll be dropping all the details soon. And you can enter for your chance to win, period. What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the Bittersweet Podcast. It's your girl, Wintana, and we have a very special guest on the podcast today. We have Ras Samuel, formerly known as Sammy Obama, which I want to get into. How are you?
I'm good, man.
Yeah?
I'm ready. I was just saying before how like we've been friends for such a long time, but we've never actually sat down and talked. And
Yeah, we've known each other for years.
Yeah.
And this is like, even before I was like, okay, when I'm going to hit Sammy up and then like plan the episode, I'm like, I've known this guy for a minute. But the Sammy and the version that's out now is like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I know of what I see, like your career, your acting. But from way back, it was like, yeah, I feel like I know you so well, but you know when someone
You
steps
probably
into
knew
a
the
different phase?
troublemaker.
I knew the troublemaker. we all had our
Yeah.
moments. But where did Sammy? Because people call you Ras Samuel now.
Yeah.
But we call you Sammy Obama.
Yeah.
Some people even say Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
like,
where did Sammy Obama come from?
Okay. Well, Sammy's short for Samuel.
Yeah.
But Obama came when I was living in Sydney, when Obama became president, and I was like the very few black people in Liverpool in Sydney.
Yeah.
And especially in school, I was like the same skin complexion, and when I had real short hair, my ears was like
Don't
this.
kill me. Were these white people that
Yep,
called you?
Yep. White, Arab, but for some reason it kind of stuck on me. I was like, oh yeah, maybe I do look like Obama. I'm like, all right, cool.
Oh, so it came from you thinking you look like Obama?
Yeah.
Or people telling you
No,
look like
people telling me
Obama?
I look like Obama.
I'm actually dead.
Yeah, and then I was like, okay, cool, maybe I do look like Obama. And then that was in primary school. And then when I went to high school, somebody was like, hey, Obama, come on. We were playing like four squares, you know, the handball.
Yeah.
Four square. They're like, come on, Obama. I was like, wait, how do you know to call me Obama? They're like, I don't know, I just made that up. I was like, oh, okay. And then everybody started calling me Obama. And then all of a sudden,
It just stuck.
it just rung, and I kind of liked that. I was like, presidential.
You say, yeah, I'm
leader?
that guy.
Okay.
I'm actually dead.
I'll be that. And I feel like that name just caught up with me, and I was like, yeah, Obama. And then when I'm like, I'm Sammy. My friends call me Obama. Like, Obama? I'm like, yeah.
The Melbourne people were probably like, what's this guy talking
No,
about? Yeah.
they actually
They
just
ran with
went with it. They were like, Obama, yeah, dude.
I'm actually dead.
And then like within a week of me being here, like my name was running on the streets like, oh, Obama, man, yeah, that nigga just came from Sydney. Yeah, he's fucking wild, man. He's wild.
And no one questioned it.
No one
questioned
questioned
it. I just, okay, that's Sammy Obama. Okay, cool,
Yeah.
Sammy Obama.
Yeah.
That was it.
I was
but
full of energy, full of like, I was so wild. I was like climbing trees and like, I don't know if you know my friend Ahmed Safi. Like,
Yeah.
I met a couple of them, but I was just like climbing everything. There was like walls. I was just like running up to it and just climbing everything, just full of energy. While they're like, what the fuck is this nigga on?
Yeah.
I don't know what. I was just full of energy. And they're like, Obama, yeah, that nigga climbs this, climbs that, climbs this, and then
then that was it.
It sort of just stuck.
I don't even, like I never questioned. But to be fair, like the niggas in the community, they be having crazy names.
That's true.
They'll just be
What do you
like,
prefer, like some crazy hood ghetto name or Obama? I'm like, I'll stick with Obama.
yeah, I'll go
all
for
day,
Obama.
every
I
day.
know. Do you remember the time where everyone was changing their like Facebook name to
Yes.
like
Cuz.
brown, or like
Yeah.
some girls would have like something Minaj.
Yeah.
I was so close. I was so close to being
word,
Minaj, but I
word.
just my insecurities seeped
Yeah.
in, and to this day I'm so happy I never did it.
Yeah, no, a lot of
Could
people.
you-
Yeah, Chris Brown,
Chris
there was-
Brown, because now we know the girls as like we'll refer to them as this Brown.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which one? Oh, this Brown.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so funny.
And some of the actual last name was Brown, but everybody. No,
And no
I
one
questioned it.
knows, Sammy.
Now
No
you
one
make me
had that
doubt it.
name. It was just people.
Holy moly! Oh my God. Okay, well, yeah.
I don't want to out people as well, but people
Wow.
had names, and I'm like, what is that even like? Yeah. Anyways, it's so funny because they
Wait, to this
stuck.
day, my friend Hannah Brown, right? I know her as Hannah Brown.
Is she African?
She's Ethiopian. Like,
Yeah, girl. Nah, that's
oh
not
my
her. What kind
God.
of Habesha has the
fooled
name
me.
Brown?
Oh my God. Okay.
What were the names? There was Brown. There was Minaj. What else did people use?
Well, it was all like the famous
people.
like celebrities at the time. It was like Chris Brown was like the top of the top.
Wheezy. A lot of people had the E, the Z, whatever. There was always like Breezy, Wheezy.
Yeah.
Yeah. People
I just remember
were too
like
funny.
even some of my friends had the like Cuz.
Cuz, yeah.
Cuzzy or I'm glad I stuck with Obama.
Yeah.
'cause,
You
like,
actually went all right. Obama was
Yeah.
like, it's memorable.
yeah.
It's memorable.
Well, he was like the first black president. And I was like,
You said that's me of Australia, yeah?
I'll be the first black something. I don't know what it is yet, but I'll be
The
the,
hood
first black
president in
something.
Australia.
The hood
The
president.
hood, we'll claim it. I take it.
I'll claim it.
So how
I'll
did it
claim
switch over to Ras Samuel?
It switched over when Sammy Obama became this like online figure as the dancer, this guy, and I was getting renowned as the Ethiopian dancer, but I was studying acting, and I was like, acting is my thing. I don't want to be known as just a dancer. I'm more than that. And so when the lockdown happened, I was like, great, maybe this is an opportunity for me to rebrand myself, to like switch it up and just let go of dancing and just all the online figure and just become an actor.
Yeah.
And just be a full-time actor, filmmaker, like in that world.
Yeah.
And I was like, how can I still like honor my name as my white name is Samuel, but I also want to honor my ancestors and where I'm from. And Ras means head, Ras means crown, Ras means prince, Ras means royalty. So I wanted to bring all that into me, bring my ancestors with me that have carried me to this day to be where I'm at right now. So yeah, I use the title Ras Samuel as I resonated with that. So I was like, all right, cool, I'll go with Ras Samuel.
yeah.
And it took a while for people to catch on.
catch
'Cause it's not
on.
as catchy as Obama.
It's not, and also I feel like there's also like two sides of you really, which I want to get into. Like I feel like you really like carved out your career. We saw you through the dancing,
Yeah.
like even fitness was a
Yeah.
big thing. Now acting, and I feel like you had so many phases, and it
Yeah.
was just like, regardless of people sticking on or not, eventually people caught on. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it takes time.
It
but
takes
yeah.
time, and it does take time, but I feel like you're really doing it now, and I want to get into like all the creative stuff you're doing. But
Yeah.
before we do, I do a little icebreaker.
Okay.
And I want to
Okay.
talk
Let's break
about
the ice.
some crazy things that have been going on online. I know you said you're not online like that, yeah?
Okay,
You're not
please,
in the pop culture stuff.
remind me,
But I'm
remind me.
sure you've seen the stuff about P. Diddy and
Yes.
his stay. So basically, there was an article that came out. Obviously, there's a lot of news that's surfacing right now, and I'm like, we need to talk about it. But I'll catch you up if you haven't really known what's going on. But you don't know about what's happening with Diddy?
Okay, I know people have been making jokes like no Diddy,
No
or
Diddy,
like,
no Diddy.
like Diddy parties and stuff like that. But I'm just so
You're not in the loop. Okay, cool. So basically, it says 54-year-old was initially denied bail and ordered to jail on Tuesday after he was federally charged with sex trafficking, racketeering, and he pleaded not guilty for it. So basically, now this case has been going on for a while.
Wow.
So Cassie came out. Cassie, you remember the artist? Come on.
Come on, bro.
Okay.
Come on.
We're gonna talk about it. You know about P. Diddy though.
I know. Well, I know P. Diddy.
You know P.
obviously,
Diddy. You know who
but-
P. Diddy is.
I know who P. Diddy is.
Okay.
I mean, I'm out of the loop, but I'm not that out of the loop.
Yeah.
No, I yes, I do. But Cassie.
If I played you a Cassie song, I feel like you would know who it is. But Cassie came out last year and she said that P. Diddy had like he had raped her multiple times. She was in an abusive relationship. They were together from when she was 19, and he basically got her into the industry, right? But back then, can you imagine like how there was a lot of stuff going on, people trying to break into the industry.
Yeah.
Obviously women were being like, I feel like abused in a lot of ways,
Yeah.
and trying to, I think it was normalized because they were trying to make their way in. So they felt like, you know, the only way in is to kind of not even like sleep your way up to the top, but kind of just like do what you need to do in order to get into the spaces, right? So P. Diddy was with her from a really young age. She was 19. And he had been like, he would just make her do really disgusting stuff, like sleep with people in front of him and he'd film it. He would abuse her a lot. He was like violent. And so he also had like these freak off parties where people would
That's
go.
what I've heard
You've
of.
heard of,
I've
yeah.
heard of that
So it
one.
was like Usher, Justin Bieber, a lot of them that were like groomed into the industry, basically groomed from a really young age. And for them, obviously, it's like your ticket in. But P. Diddy's the one that's like orchestrating these parties, and he's coming in and he's sleeping with a lot of men. Obviously, allegations that he's like, I don't know if he's gay, but also he's like just really messed up things that he'd been doing. And when Cassie came out, she tried to sue him, I think for 300 million or something like that. But then all these people now started to come out, and there was all this evidence that was leaked where P. Diddy had done really crazy things, and he would just like, he would murder people. He had like, obviously sex trafficking was happening, raped multiple women in the industry, and all of it is coming out now.
Yeah, right.
And so he's obviously saying that he's like not guilty to any of the charges. So I just wanted to hear what your take was on all of it. I didn't know that you weren't hearing about
That's
it.
so interesting. I'm like, when it comes to toxic news or news that affects my nervous system, I try to
Stay away from it.
But I do hear things, and there was like some podcast that I was listening to of there was like, what's his name, Suge Knight.
Suge
was
Knight,
talking
yeah.
about P. Diddy, and there was like an interesting point of view or perspective that he said that just made me go, oh yeah, that's actually true. I'd never thought about it that way. And he said, who was P. Diddy's mentors? Who taught P. Diddy about the business, about the industry, and how to get, build artists up and stuff like that. It was, and he named some like, crazy old white people that were in that, in that world.
Oh,
so
do you remember who he named? Huh? Do you remember who he named? That's so interesting.
I don't remember the names. Even it was like, big label artists, but mainly white men. He himself was groomed. That's what he was saying. He himself was groomed, and so he was only doing what he was taught to do.
Yeah.
And I know it sounds like I'm I don't know, justifying his thing, but I'm an actor, so my thing is always like to see the humanity in people and the perspective of why they do things, and so I think like if it is true, whatever he was saying, I think it happened to him, and
then
it
he's
was
just
normalized.
it's like this toxic cycle that's
hurt people,
Yeah.
or like I don't think he was even aware that he was hurting people. Maybe, I don't know. He was probably thinking like, look at all these artists I'm building.
But don't you think, I feel like for me, I get what you're saying, and there's always like another perspective to look at.
Yeah.
I just feel like it's like it's pure ego. It's like ego, and to a certain point, it just becomes a bit like evil. Like you become a bad person after you continuously do something. You know what I mean?
Does
Over
an evil
and over
person
again.
see themselves as evil though?
That's I guess that's the question. But it's like, does it take him to see that he's evil for him to be evil? Do you know what I mean?
I don't think even when even if they find out that he is guilty and stuff like that, in his brain he's gonna be like, no, I'm innocent. I'm innocent. He'll never he's like, our brain is created to protect us from harm, right?
Yeah.
So he's always gonna justify his actions,
What he's done,
and
yes,
what he's done,
yeah.
and he's always gonna say, no, I'm guilty. They did me wrong, and it's like, oh, look at all the people that I helped. That's not true. That's not true. Even if if there's video evidence of them, he's like, no, but it was.
But we did this, and I think I get that, and I feel like at a certain point he probably was thinking that. He's thinking, because he had groomed all these people, but he's also opened doors for them, I guess. But also they were abused. You know what I mean? Manipulated, abused, and they were so young and desperate.
Yeah.
And I feel like that time is just, I think there was just a lot of things that were going on at the time, and we didn't. You know what's crazy? I feel like with celebrity culture back then, they were icons. Like, you think of all the names, like the Jay-Z's, the Beyoncé's, the P. Diddy's, all of these people were, for us anyway, looking at it from a distance, I just remember thinking like they were untouchable, you know? But now I think with social media, and everybody kind of has the opportunity to become famous if you wanted to on your own, really. You don't really need the industry connections, and people you're seeing a lot more independent artists and people doing their own thing. It's like made us see them for who they are a little bit more. Like, I'm not looking at celebrities and thinking like they're this like untouchable, they're legends. They are legends in their own right and for what they've done. But I don't think that I don't see their wrongs as, before I feel like I made excuses, or like I was like, oh, you know, but they're famous and they get away with it. You kind of just justify it. Now I kind of just see it as like, I don't know, they have to take accountability now because people are airing the business out. And you're really seeing the industry for what it is, you know what I mean? And the people for what they are and what they had to do to get to the top. So it's just like, I'm hearing, it's just disgusting now, you know? And I think everything that you have done can just be scrapped down to nothing. Like, you look at R. Kelly, Tory Lanez, that they're in like prison now, even the Jeffrey Epstein? Epstein, yeah. And the, what's his name? The guy that was Bill Cosby.
Yeah,
Bill Cosby.
And freaking,
there's just so many of them, and I'm just like, you're just, it's disgusting. Like, I can't respect what they do anymore. You know what I mean? And so because of, again, we're all human, and you use your power to abuse and like, you know, abuse people basically. So I see P. Diddy and I'm just like, obviously I fully believe he did it. I think there's evidence. This guy there was stuff on The Breakfast Club, you know, the radio show, The Breakfast Club, and they were talking about how he recorded everything, you know? He recorded everything he did when he was raping women, when he was making them do sexual acts with other people, the killings. And so I think he thought it was like a way, I don't know why he did that, but now the police had raided his homes, both his homes, and found 1,000 bottles of baby oil.
Wait,
1,000 bottles of baby oil. Oh my God.
Damn.
And what else did they find? They found 1,000 bottles of baby oil, and they found all the evidence. So it's kind of like this guy's pleading not guilty, but the evidence is saying otherwise. So it's just,
I mean, it's a bit sad, to be honest. Like for me anyways, like, as like there's certain black men that I look up to and was inspired by. And and I'm like, wow, like they've done such amazing things. And then now, like, I don't know, the industry or people are sort of like turning their backs on them. And I'm not talking about P. Diddy, but I'm just talking about how there's been multiple black men that have achieved so much, and now they're sort of just getting crumbled down to nothing.
Do you think that's an interesting point? Do you actually think that's fair? Well, like when someone does, because they've done so much, I guess, for the culture or like whatever, for their community. And then when, you know, mistakes are kind of unveiled and everyone like discredits them, do you think that's fair?
Well, it's not about, I don't think, I'm not in the right to say what's fair, what's not, but I do think that does race play a part to it? Like, I look at someone like Donald Trump, for example, right? Like I said, I'm not across all the media stuff, but I do, like, you know, hear some things and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. And I try to make up my own mind. That's why I don't read a lot of like news, and because news is just people's perspectives, or there's no journalism integrity anymore. They're just like, Denzel puts it superbly, where he's like, it's not about the story anymore. It's about who gets there first. You know what I mean? It's about being the first. Being the first is like, let's just, even if it's BS, let's just
write it. And sometimes people don't even, sometimes you just have a wild headline. Someone will have and people don't actually go and take the effort to read it.
There's a whole science to a clickbait. There's a whole science to like what images they use to even I saw the other in the sports team about cheating and disgracing like a whole team, and like the picture that they used was a black woman who was like, you know, like holding her head in shame, and it had nothing to do with the black woman, you know, but the headline made it look like it was all her fault. You know what I mean? So yeah, like I was saying, like Donald Trump, who has like a whole bunch of shit that he's done, probably similar to P. Diddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I just think some people are specifically targeted to break down our heroes and our role models. And so like when you break down our role models that we look up to, like, you build them up and then you break them down. It's like, what is it? It makes us feel like, oh, well, what hope is there for me? You know what I mean? Like, if I do this, then I do that. It just makes you lose faith in
the bigger picture and what you're trying to do. I hear that. I actually do hear that. And I think, like, as Black people as well, like, you have to be extra vigilant and, like, you need to be, of course, like, it does feel like there's a target on your back.
There's always going to be a target on your back.
Yeah. There's two sides, though. But it's disappointing when you have people that, like, get to the top and instead of, like, empowering the community, you're doing this. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it does discredit what you've done because it's like you're hurting people. But I also feel like, of course, they've probably made sacrifices to get to the top as well. So it's like, it's a tricky one.
But it's what it is, PR, having a good publicist,
Woof.
having a publicist can make you look like you're the king of the world, and another publicist can make you look like you're the scum of the earth.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
it was interesting because when I was listening to some reports, they were like, oh, his team was saying stuff like, we are very, like, hopeful that he'll get away. And obviously they're talking about he's like a, I don't know, like the legend in the community, has contributed to this. And they're just saying all the loving father and blah, blah, blah. And they're going to say that, of course, to
that's
kind
what
of.
they say with white serial killers, though.
So scary. That's what I'm saying.
They always justify it. They always like paint a picture of his innocence. But when it's a Black man, and again, probably making it about race because I'm a Black man, and it's probably the perspective that I see it in, is when it's a Black man, they always show the ghetto side, the bad that he's done growing up, rough neighborhood, cracked out mother, drunk father, no father, all that sort of jazz. You know what I mean? Whereas when it's like a white shooter who shoots up a damn school, it's like, oh, he was in their parents was alcoholics and he didn't have
sub story,
sub story, and then what do? You're like, oh, you feel sorry, and what do you do? And then you go make a movie about their damn life, about
docu-series of like,
what the fuck,
What was that movie that came out? Do you remember the documentary of
Dahmer? There was
Jeffrey Dahmer, and you're like,
Dahmer. There's like even
you think this guy's miskin when you watch. I'm like, this guy's a psychopath, when you really get down to the story. But of course, they're gonna paint it out that way every time. Yeah.
It's a world that is sort of built on perception and whoever, the media puts out what it wants to put out.
Of course.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I know.
There was an article I saw the other day about Denzel Washington, and I was like, don't be coming for
Don't come for Denzel. Oh my God.
It was like the new Gladiator movie.
Yeah. What did they say?
Well, they were like, he's getting backlash for using his natural accent.
What?
He's getting backlash
for using what accent is he supposed to use?
Well,
he's like, okay, I got you. Yeah.
Right. Gladiator is I don't know if you've seen the first
Gladiator
with like what's his name? Russell Crowe. Russell Crowe. And it's set in Rome. Yeah. And Denzel's character plays an ex-slave he plays this powerful figure anyways, and he uses his natural Denzel accent, and then his character's meant to be from North Africa, right? And then the article was like, oh, he's getting backlash for using his natural accent and not using an African accent. And he was like, well, where in Africa is he from? What kind of accent? So he was like, I use my natural accent because it's better than butchering an African accent.
100%. Because a lot of them,
all these other white motherfuckers, though, they were using a fucking British accent. No one spoke with a British accent in Rome. Rome is in Italy. What the fuck?
What's going on? And no
know
one's
what I mean?
complaining about that.
No one's complaining
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
No one fucking said anything about, oh, fucking, oh, thou shall be beheaded.
Yeah.
That fool. And
Yeah.
it's like,
it's not making sense.
yeah, and also like what Leonardo used his own natural accent in every historical French film. He played what's his name? Arthur Rimbaud. He played Arthur Rimbaud. Arthur Rimbaud was a French poet from like I think it was in the 18th century. And he played him, but he did it with his American accent. Arthur Rimbaud was French. He didn't speak a lick of English. He probably, like, all the work that they translated it into English. But I was like, where's his criticism?
Yeah.
That's like, that's what I'm saying.
They're
about,
going to
like,
pick and
when it
choose,
comes
yeah.
to, you know, yeah, it's just like there's a standard for like black men and women to, like, when it's an like if they're from Africa, they have to speak with an African accent. Otherwise, it's not.
And what
deemed-
part of Africa? Do you know
No,
what I
what
mean?
part-
Because it's like there's
yeah,
so many.
like general African accent. Just do this, and then that will be that is enough. We will know that you are from Africa.
It's not. And you do feel those stereotypes when you're like in the work that you're doing now.
Yeah, man. I'm like, that's why I have a rule. I'm like, unless there's like black creatives, unless there's like I'm not gonna do an African accent unless it's the writer themselves have written it for an African character. There was like a couple of roles that I had to turn down because I'm like, I'm not gonna do an African accent because it's like, why should I do an African accent?
Is the
no
role?
problem.
Yeah. But is the role like based? Is it for someone a character from Africa, or like why would they?
Well, this is the thing about like how many Africans do you know in Africa that speak better English than me?
Yeah.
You know what I
Indeed.
mean?
Yeah, it's
So
not actually
always like,
realistic.
it's not realistic, and it's like, and the African characters that you're writing are always uneducated or refugee, or there's just like a certain perception that constantly gets put out into the world, and I just refuse to do that, even if it's gonna make me a broke motherfucker or not work. I'm just like, I want to play, you know, like characters that are real. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like, don't get me wrong, those African characters are real, but like, who's writing them?
And from what perspective? Because you see like movies like you know, the Black Panther, and I don't know. Sometimes you do have it. It can sometimes leave a bitter taste because it's like, is this representative of Africa or is this like an Americanized version? And like you've got all these American artists, I mean, like actors that have come in, butchering an African accent. And it does discredit, you know what I mean? People that are there trying to make it as well. So I don't know. I just think that like, how do you even get past something like that though?
Well, with Black Panther, it's a fictional world. It's you know, you can create a fictional butchered African accent because it's meant to be a diverse range of, like, it's meant to be like in Ethiopia, for example, right? There's like over 200 dialects.
Yeah.
There's over 80 languages, and like each like you can say Ethiopian, but in each of those cultures, when they speak English, their accent is going to be different.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The accent is going to be different, and like even if you go to any parts of Africa, the accent is going to be different.
Yeah.
So whatever African accent, it's like, it's not so much about the African accent that I care about. It's more about like the story arc of the accent and like the stereotype that you're like that's sort of getting written. You know what I mean? With Black Panther, it was like the most empowering thing that I watched, even if it was from the American lens. I still think that was beautiful because it's like they're creating something that they wished Africa was. They have an idea of Africa. Not a lot of them have gotten the chance to go to Africa. So it's like, it just creates like a, I don't know, like
Were
a
African
positive
people
perception.
involved behind the scenes?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They created a whole language.
Yeah.
They like created a whole African language. They there was like, there's a whole, like with Black Panther, I think like it wasn't just in front of the camera that was sort of, you know, that was beautiful about it. It was also behind the scenes.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like there was the team that was created was really, it's still Marvel, but it's still, I think, Ryan Coogler was given the freedom to sort of, do what he wants to it and bring his vision to it.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I loved Black Panther, but there's always just like you always get that feeling of like how much does this represent and how many people were involved in it, and because I just think that there's
movie represent a
not
whole
represent, but that's
nation,
what I'm saying though. But like, what is the representation of Africa in media? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I feel like
Yeah.
it's never really one we're seen. I feel like as a monolith, it's always like one version of what Africa is. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like it's so different. I think it's one of the continents that are the most diverse. You know, that is the
100%.
most diverse,
100%.
and it's from west to even east to west, south, like north. It's so different.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I've seen anything that fully represents that before.
Yeah.
Or like even just shown us that there's a difference. Do you know what I mean? I think there's always like from the clothing, hairstyle, it always seems like this is what Africa would look like when you go there.
Yeah.
And it's not.
It's not.
Do you know what I mean? So
But that's what the media is putting out of what Africa is. There's like stereotypes of like there's the refugee, there's the PTSD war stuff like that. There's that character, and then there's the and then there's it's
then the
always
music, you've got the music culture kind
music
of
culture. There's like there's just perceptions that's now with the music. I think it's sort of changing, which I sort of love. But there's always been stereotypes of what Africa is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And the biggest one was like poverty. It's like, sure, there's poverty. There's also like a lot of love. There's tradition. There's culture.
There's like
history. There's so much more to it than
Do you feel like you came here, you were born in Ethiopia and you
Yeah.
came here when you were 9. Do you feel like you felt like proud of where you came from when you first came to Australia?
100%.
Yeah?
I wanted to go back. That was like for probably like 16 years of my life. I wanted to go back to Ethiopia. That was my like. I wanted to go back so bad. I hated Australia. I hated being in Australia. I like every day I resented being in here. That's where the troublemaker side of me came.
That's
in
what, because you know, yeah.
I wanted to get like there was a I've heard that if you rebel or if you're bad enough, you can get arrested and get deported back to Africa.
No way.
I was trying
That's
to get
why
deported.
you were No way.
I was trying to get deported.
Really?
Yeah.
That is
Yeah,
insane.
I hated Australia so much.
What made you hate it?
I don't want to say everything, but it was just so for a bit of context, my dad married a woman from Australia, and then it was my dad, my oldest brother, my sister, myself that came here, leaving like 5 of my siblings back there, my grandmother, all my loved ones were back there.
Home, yeah.
And so when I came here, I feel like I had nothing.
Yeah.
My stepmother was like abusive. She was just toxic and she made me hate this country.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to go back. I was like, send me back. And she was like, you should be lucky that I brought you into this country. You should be lucky. And I just hated that. I was like, lucky for what?
Yeah.
I don't like this. I don't want to be here. Send me back. And so that's what made me hate it. Also, there just was no culture. There's no community. There was no togetherness. Like in Ethiopia, you can walk down the street, and then a stranger would like walk past you. You would greet them, have a good day, or good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is. You know, you say salam, or you acknowledge them.
Yeah.
That's why, like,
here it's very individualistic. Everyone is like on their own path.
Yeah.
You could walk into an elevator, mute everyone. No one's
Yep.
saying hi to anyone.
Yep.
It's so different.
Yeah. And that's kind of, I just didn't like that. That's why I spent a lot of time at the cinema because I just couldn't, like, home was not safe for me. I would go to the cinema, I would watch movies, and that was like sort of my escape. I would just go to the cinema.
Was your relationship with your dad close still? Or it was...
Well, my dad was like, a typical
Habesha dad, yeah.
He was like, he was there, but he was not there.
Yeah.
He was physically there, but emotionally it's like...
He's not present.
He's just not present.
Yeah.
It only would communicate with me if I did something bad.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Or to like tell me off. And that was the only time that I felt like my dad was really my dad was my stepmother. We had like, it was just so bad where she was like, don't touch my food. Don't
What?
open my fridge. Don't don't touch anything that's mine. Everything here belongs to me. If I see you like touching, and it's like, just you see. I was like, fuck. So what am I supposed to eat? What am I supposed to think? I couldn't eat her food. I couldn't eat nothing. So like, I was like, literally for like almost a week, I was like starving to death. And I would like, at nighttime when everybody's asleep, I would sneak into the fridge to eat. Yeah, it was that bad. I would sneak into the fridge, eat, and then one time she caught me eating at nighttime. She grabbed it and chucked it straight into the bin. She's like, "You eat my food one more time, I'm gonna kill you."
What was it? This type of stuff? It makes me like, honestly, like I just question people and like, because I've heard so many stories like this as well.
Yeah.
Like, but it's just like, what kind of? It's just evil to me. Like,
Yeah.
how are you having a child with? How do you have a man that you love, that you've married, and you can't bring in his child? What do you think that was for her?
I think it was that I didn't see her as my mother. I didn't see her as she had her own shit. You know, I don't know what it was.
Did she have kids as well?
She had
her
two
own
kids.
And
Yeah,
how was she with her own children?
She was okay with them. Not like the best, but she was very distant from not the best relationship. She had two girls and like she was very strict on them. Very strict on them. Yeah, I don't know what it is. I think, like I said, I think she just has her own shit. But it was just that I wasn't bound to her for bringing me into this country. She was like trying to, I don't know, like force it out of me of like, okay, you win. It was like some sort of game that she was playing with me of trying every tactic of like, okay, if I deprive him from this, maybe he'll come running to me and I'll be the savior. I think she had savior complex maybe, and she just was, maybe she was expecting me to, you know, kiss the floor she walked on.
Yeah, and just be grateful or whatever for what though. But so your dad, how did he see that when he?
And so like I was just like, at some point I just couldn't even go home. I was like outside. We lived in this like I think it was like 4 or 5 unit building. You go up the stairs and I was on the stairs. I was just there, energyless. I was just sitting there, so like exhausted. And I was waiting for my dad to come home, and he sees me. He's like, "What are you doing here?" Like, I was like, I don't know. She won't let me in. And he's like, "Why?" I was like, I was so scared to tell him because I was like, if I tell him, he's gonna take her side and he's gonna whoop my ass. So I was like, you know what? I got nothing to lose at this point.
Yeah.
I was like, well, I haven't eaten. She's told me I'm not allowed to touch her door. I'm not allowed to enter into a house. I'm not allowed to eat her food. I just told him everything. And I cried and he grabs me by the hand, drags me inside. And I was thinking, damn, I'm going to get the whooping of my life. He grabs me in there, takes me straight to the fridge, to the kitchen, opens everything. He's like, eat, blah.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I don't, I don't want to. And she's like sitting on the couch in the lounge room, and she sees him dragging me into the kitchen, and she comes in. He's like, blah. I was like a bit hesitant. I'm like eating, and she's looking at me, and she's giving me the death stare.
Is she looking at him?
No, she's looking at me, cause like she doesn't know, like he doesn't know. That, I told him everything, but and then he's like, blah. I was like, no, I can't, like, and I'm like scared to, at this point, but he's like, blah, we'll see what happens. Eat. I eat. And he goes and gives it to her, and I'm like, damn, is this what it feels like for like the bully to finally like, you know, have what's come for them? And I'm eating, the food was so fucking cold. It was cold.
Straight out the fridge, but you're like,
I'm like, this is the best meal I ever had.
That's
why to this day, I never waste food. I never, ever waste food. I I don't like people that waste food. Like that's like, yeah. Even in like to this day, like even in my relationship, I'm like, baby, you gonna fucking eat that. You gonna eat everything. So even when she eats, she's just like, babe, come on, just. I'm like, no, you getting.
Oh my
We're gonna run it off
God.
tomorrow. You eating that?
You said pack that up for later, put it in the fridge, yeah?
One of the above. One of the
Oof.
above.
So
yeah.
what did she say? Like in that moment, obviously she was exposed. Did things change from that moment?
No, it just gotten worse from there. It went drastic. It just went downhill from there. Yeah, the fighting. It was just fighting. She would like the the straw that broke the camel's back that made my dad go, you know what, fuck, like this is just not it for me. Is there was we were watching TV and The Simpsons was on. The Simpsons at 6 o'clock. That was my that was my thing.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah.
that was my at least like amongst all that. And
This
she
is the thing
finishes
that you would
work
do.
at 4. She was working every day, and
Yeah.
she finishes work at 4, and she would come do her routine. And at 6 o'clock, I would watch The Simpsons, and 7 o'clock, 6:30. Neighbors would be on. And
Yeah.
at 7 o'clock, Home and Away would be on.
Yeah. So you're doing back to back?
I'm like, so that wasn't my thing. That was her show.
Yeah.
Neighbors and then Home and Away.
Okay.
I was like, okay, cool. 6 o'clock, that's my slot. 6 o'clock,
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch The Simpsons. And then I'm watching The Simpsons, and she's like, change the channel. I want to watch the news. No, sorry. Change the channel. I want to watch Home and Away. Home and Away is not until 7 o'clock. And she's like, no, it's on right now. I know my TV. I know my timetable. It's on right now.
I know my show.
Change it.
Yeah.
I was like, and it's like, but The Simpsons on. It's like, I know this. The Simpsons on. Let me just, like, it's gonna finish.
Yeah.
And she's like, no, change it. I was like, and I just ignored her. And like the table, like exactly, it was very similar to that coffee table right there. She kicks it on me. That thing flips on my stomach, and she stands on that edge right there. She stands on it,
Nah.
pressing it against me, and I'm like holding my breath, bracing at this point, and I'm seeing stars. And she just looks at me. He's like, not so tough now, are you, you little shit? Just looks down at me. I was like, at that moment, I was like, yeah, that's it. This is the enemy. I'm dying here.
This is proper abuse.
Yeah, I'm dying here. And then, as I'm about to like faint, she gets off it. I push her. I run out the house, go to the nearest public phone. I call the police. I'm like, my stepmom, she's trying to kill me. And I say all this, and like my English was broken as hell.
How old were you, by the way?
I was maybe 11, maybe 10. I could speak English, but it was broken English. It was like I could form a sentence together. And then the police come. I tell them everything, and then she obviously communicated with them much better. They just left. I was like, that's it. And then that night, my dad comes home. I explain to him the situation, and she's just going at him, and she's going at me, and he's like, he called the police on me. Da, 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 da. Like, he made that up. I didn't touch him. I was like, in my hand, I got marks right here. I got marks right here, and she's just like so pissed. She picks up the chair. She's literally about to chuck it on me. She throws it. My dad grabs her. He grabs her, and he's like, "Are you out of your mind?" And then she comes at me. She's like fully on, about to grab me, and I just put my hand on her face, and then like my thumb got slipped inside her mouth, and she bites it, and then her daughter was there, and she's like grabs me, and then like we get out, and like me and her daughter are like, she's like, how old are you now?
Yeah, I'm 28.
She was probably your age, and I'm like this little scrawny, skinny kid, skin and bones. I was a very skinny kid, and me and her are like getting into a fight, and she like grabs me, starts punching me, and And she's like, get that gorilla off my daughter. He's about to kill her. And she's bashing the shit out of me. I'm like,
The daughter's bashing you.
yeah. I'm like, she's
Bro,
like,
this is
I was like, wait, I'm the bad guy. I'm like, I'm harming her. Like, what the fuck you mean? And yeah, I had like a whole bruised eye and went to the police station, and yeah, and like that was the straw that broke the camel's back that made my dad go like, yeah, nah, this is not it.
yeah.
And yeah. So,
But your dad this whole time wasn't really aware of how violent she was.
no, he knew. He was just sucking it up. He's like, he was grateful that she brought us here because he had like, he had farmer's life in Ethiopia, day in, day out. To him, he was like, as an adult now, I can see the perspective of like of my dad, of like he had a very hard life, had like 3 of his children die at a younger age. So I understand his struggle. I understand why he was not trying to evoke an emotion out of her. And so that's why he was sort of just like, he's like, just at least until we get our permanent residency, just chill, just hold it out. And this was, yeah. And so that's what he was just like waiting for. And at that point he's like, nah, it's not even worth it. And she kicked us out. We were homeless for about a month, jumping motel to motel. And yeah, and even like school as well. Like school was just like super.
Of course, that would have been tough for you to just be.
It was so bad. It was like just and I think like that's where this like rage inside of me sort of started, even in school, and just being a teenager as well. Like fucking. Like just hitting puberty, and I was just like,
of course, you're just like, you start acting out as a kid on top
Yeah.
of all the things, because
On
that
top
would
of
have been
all that,
that would
yeah.
have just been so traumatic for you to come to a country that
Yeah.
you don't actually know about, and you don't have the connections or like the support that you had
Yeah.
when you were back home,
Yeah.
and you're now in this violent like environment with
Yeah.
a psychopath stepmother.
yeah. So that's why I hated Australia.
Yeah,
That's why I wanted
of
to go back
course, yeah.
every day.
And so, yeah, like I wanted to talk about you now as you're like a creative all around, like you are an actor, you're a dancer, you also do like other creative projects outside of that. And it's like, I knew you from back then.
Yeah.
So it's like, I wanted to talk about how you shifted into that. Yeah, like how did you go? Because you were like, yeah, you knew me as a troublemaker, this and this. So I knew you as not fully a troublemaker, but just like one of the guys that were also just around, you know?
You must have met me when I was actually out of that lifestyle, and
there was a merge. I feel like I knew you when you were like
in the
transitioning. Because
Yeah,
I was like, I
yeah.
heard like, obviously we, as a community, we're hearing everyone's out, everyone's doing their thing. So
Yeah.
when I saw, it's like, I think maybe I knew of you like towards maybe the merge, the end of everything that was happening. And then I now see you kind of really pursuing all these other things that you were doing. So what was the transition from you being in this like really toxic environment and then now going into this life?
Yeah. It was the transitional, like it was in 2012. I was, not to get into details or nothing, but like I was just running amok. I was getting arrested, and again, like it was like there was like a deep want to get deported back to Ethiopia so I can just be with my brothers again and be with my family and be in the farm. I loved being in a farm, goats, cows, everywhere. I was just like,
You're a real village boy, yeah?
I was a village boy, man. It was a very peaceful place, very quiet. We had no electricity, no nothing, you know? And so, I was just, again, getting arrested all the time. And then there was like, this was the impetus that made me go like, man, I didn't even know where to start. But I was robbing houses. I was robbing people. And I was like, and deep down, I didn't want to. It was just like fucking
You're
everyone
acting,
else was doing it. I was like, let's do it, you know? So there was just that peer pressure where we were all pressuring each other to just like go above and beyond to see who can do the most. You know what I mean? And
I really hear that as well, because sometimes, especially at that age, or even when we hit the late, sometimes I'll question some of the things that I used to do. I'm like, God, this was out of character. But again, it's literally one person starts it,
Yeah.
and it becomes this like thing that you just do,
Yeah.
like whether it's for fun or
Yeah.
like you're just testing the waters, and then once you get away with something, you're like,
You're
okay,
like,
I'm gonna do
okay,
this,
okay, that's what it was.
and next thing you're like in
Yeah.
this life. Yeah.
Yeah. But in that time, I went back home. My dad finally had enough of me getting arrested, and he's like, you know what? And we just got our not citizenship, permanent residency. He's like, finally, we can now go to Ethiopia. And I had like all this arrest records, and I needed to if I was to go, I needed to come back to for court hearing. I had court, so I had like a month to be in Ethiopia. No, 3 weeks. And it was when I went back, I finally saw like what I missed out on, and I felt like that little boy that left again. I literally turned into that little boy when I went back. And everybody was like, well, you like grew, but you're still the same little boy that left.
Yeah.
And what they didn't understand is that like it's that trigger, you know what I mean? Like
Of
that
course.
environment. Even like now, if I go, even like the last time I went there was in 2018, it still created that same little boy in me because I associate that boy with my childhood, that space with my childhood. And when I'm there, I just feel like the most free, the most happy, the most like there's just nothing that I worry about. And my grandma was there, and the first time I saw my grandmother, I just melted, and I really became that little boy, and I just cried and cried and cried.
You grew up very close to your grandmother, right?
So close.
Yeah.
She was my heart. She was like, when I was a little boy, she had a prophecy about me that I was going to travel the world and inspire millions of people. And when I saw her again, she had that same prophecy about me, that the exact same, that I was like, do it again, do it. I was like,
Remind me, girl, yeah.
do it again, remind me. And
So
it was the exact
sweet.
same way. She just look at it, and she was just the excitement and the light in her eyes, you know. And that would just like bring so much joy into my heart. And
I remember when I saw you at Henrietta had the Good Gratitude event, and you spoke about your grandma and the prophecy she had, and you said it in Tigrinya. And when I tell you the way I was holding back tears, because my grandma passed away last year, and she was like, she came, you know, our parents, the life that they had, they came from, she was, you know, refugees in Sudan, and she lived there for about, well, I can't even remember how many years, but I think after 10 years, my parents brought her, like my aunties and my mom, like they brought their mom here. And it was like, she lived with us for what, I don't know how many years she did here, maybe nearly 18 years, 20 years, 18 to 19 years. And so when we lost our grandma last year, it was like a hit, you know. Obviously, just the little things that they do, the things that they say, the way they bless you, it's different. It's so warm.
Blessing. Let me tell you this blessing that I used to get so competitive to see how much I could get my grandma's blessing. So there's like, because again, we lived in the village, right? We used to go around gathering sticks and cow shit, because cow shit is great for fire. And so me and my brothers, we used to, you know, get the sticks, right? Like see who can carry the most sticks and most cow dungs and stuff like that. And anytime my brother turned around to like get his fill, I would like steal his sticks.
Yeah.
And like in retrospect, I'm like, I was pretty stupid because I had to carry
more sticks. Yeah, but you said, let me get my blessing.
And then I would come home with like so much more, and I was like, I date, look, see?
We call it a date too.
Yeah, I was like, more than him, right? And then tomorrow an issue like, and then I responded, well, when are you
going to give it to me?
I was like, I was like, so injera is like a metaphor of like, may God bless you with like a big meal of abundance of whatever you desire, right?
Yeah.
But she would say, you know, like she'd tap my back, and I literally took it. I was like, I was like, when did you give me a big injera? You know? And they just cracked up laughing. And that was just things that I used to do to get my grandma's blessing.
Approval and just, to just the love that you get.
Her word literally was law. Like whatever she said, whatever like she said, I was like, yes, that's like, that's it. There's like no other. She said, I'm going to travel the world. That's what I'm going to do. She said, and then like she wasn't lying. Like about a year later, I was in Australia. I traveled all around the world. Did I inspire millions? Probably not yet, but I'm on my way. I'm on my way. You know? So but when I went back, it was I just felt like the whole street culture and everything that, by being in Australia, I sort of created this defense mechanism of like, I'm a hard motherfucker now. And so when I went there, she just like, I just melted into the little boy again. And I kind of liked it because I haven't felt that vulnerable, that open in such a long time, because my heart really closed being in Australia.
Being in Australia, yeah.
Yeah. And so like just going back there, I was like, wow, like this is, it feels so good to like
Yeah,
to
to just
cry.
be-
It feels so
yeah.
good to just be held and to just like not worry about, you know, being chased by the police or not like, you know, getting into fights and stuff like that. But what really changed for me was there was a song that was playing on a regular basis. I didn't really listen to it. I heard it, it was there. I was like, whatever. But there was like a particular Ethiopian music called Alamia Sora. And that song that was playing, I was like, you know what, let me just watch it.
Yeah.
And I finally gave it a chance. And for the first time, I was like, holy moly, is this my culture? There was this woman dancing, breaking her shoulder, and she was just like going for it. And I was like, I was hypnotized. I was
Yeah.
hypnotized like a motherfucker. I was like, wow, what is this beautiful movement? Like, I knew I used to do it when I was a kid,
Yeah.
but like, it
There's
just
that
like,
art form to it that you really like. Yeah.
I just like got possessed and I started dancing with
Yeah.
her. I was like, what is she doing? How is she doing that? And I started dancing with her and I literally played that song on repeat. I was listening to it all day. When I tell you, I got an addictive personality. So
Yeah.
when I'm obsessed with something,
You give me that. Like when
I
I see,
go
I'm like the
for it.
way you do your working out, the way
Yeah.
you do like, you know what I mean? You could
Yeah.
tell like you're someone that is like, when you're disciplined and when you
Yeah.
want something, it's like
yeah,
discipline.
I go for it. And it
Yeah.
was the same with like the hustling mentality as
Yeah.
well. Like, it was like me and my boys, I was like, yeah, you think you can outwork me?
Yeah.
Boy, you don't know what's coming for you. I would just go above and beyond to prove that like I can be the best, whatever it is, I can like be the best at it. And so with the dancing thing, I was just like, I just listened to it all day, all night, to the point where my sister woke up in the middle of the night. She's like, Sammy, can you please turn it off? Like, you know, we gotta go to sleep. We gotta go to church in the morning tomorrow, so please just turn it off. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
I recorded it on my camera recorder, and then I would watch it under the sheets just to see.
To see and to
Yeah.
like really just like
yeah,
analyze yourself.
Analyze how she was dancing, how she was doing everything, and then I just, when I came back to this country, that's all I was doing. I was just like watching every single Ethiopian dance music or like culture music, and I would practice. I would just practice, and I got like really good at it.
Yeah.
And I started making videos of me dancing and uploading them, and no one was doing that.
Were
at
you
the time.
uploading it onto, was it YouTube or just
Facebook?
Facebook.
First,
Okay. Yeah.
Facebook.
Yeah.
And then like no one had seen people actually like dancing like that, like Ethiopian dance, and uploading it into, this was like before TikTok, before like online dancing online became popular, and like those dance videos just started getting more like traction, and people were like loving it. They're like, oh, you know, so proud. Ethiopians are very proud of their culture. You
Yeah.
know, when they see something that feels represent them, they're like, yes, they
Yeah.
should support it
Yeah.
and share it.
Yeah.
And so I just kept uploading videos after videos, dancing new dance styles, like seeing how I can get better, and then like people started calling me to perform at like New Year parties, at events, and that's where the live sort of theater style of dancing came in, and I just like took it all the way in.
So just even like getting into, so you started off with the dancing, and that's kind of what I feel like what really made a name for yourself in the community,
Yeah.
like dancing. So when did you shift over to acting? And you said it was something that you always wanted to do when
I
you
always wanted to do.
Yeah.
I actually like use dancing as a way to build an
Your
audience.
profile, yeah, that makes
like
sense.
as a way to build an audience and connect with people, and also build confidence on stage. You know what I mean? Like, I love the stage. There's something about the stage, like dancing in front of people. And I think it's the hip hop culture that I grew up in as well. Like, I love when performers get to just like, you know, when they're performing and their audience is like the
I'm
way they
thinking Stomp the Yard, but do you remember how they used to, like there was an
Yeah.
energy.
There was an energy
There's an
to it, you know what I
energy.
mean? Like,
Yeah.
there's something about, you know, just like synergizing with the audience and making the audience feel something, like when you're just like moving, and it's just like, it it's amazing. It's like there's nothing
That
like
really,
it.
yeah.
And so, but the compound effect of the arrests that I've gotten arrested was like I was arrested and went to juvie when I was 14, and it was when I came out of there that I was like, it was in there that I also made the sort of pivotal choice to be an actor. I was like, okay, what am I gonna do if I'm really like gonna take this acting thing seriously? I really have to give it a go. Like I really have to go in all in. And so I stopped listening to hip hop music.
Really?
Everything. I was like, it was like a real intentional shift. When I was in juvie, it was like almost like a meditation. It was like, oh, wow, okay. No obligation to kick it with the boys. No obligation to do this. I literally am just here. It felt like I was back home again, where I was just like pure silence. Okay.
Did you go to juvie when you came back?
When I came back, like I came like maybe 2 months
After?
3 months after I came back from Ethiopia.
How long were you in for?
I was in there for about a week and a half.
Okay.
It was there to like, it was, trust me, one day there was enough
To make you
me
really
not
like, yeah.
I spent a night in what do you call it, at the police station, and I've been arrested many times, and I like they usually let me off with a warning. So I was like,
what's going on
here?
Yeah,
Like,
that would have like shaken you to be like, it's a taste
time.
of like what could happen if you really continue to do
exactly.
this.
So that was like, even then, like even being there, like sleep deprived all night, waking me up every like hour, like they just were making sure I just didn't sleep. And so being there, it was like, the worst part was like being on the truck, right? And I saw my flam boys, flam girls in the tram stop where we used to kick it. They're waiting for the tram, and we stopped at a traffic light, and I saw them, and I was banging on the window to try to get their attention. I was like, yo, and they were just having fun and talking shit, and like I was in this truck, and they don't even know that I'm here. And so that just really broke my heart and just made me realize how alone we really are. At that time, I was like, wow, like they don't care that I'm here. And what made it even worse was when I was in juvie, there was 2 of the flam boys that I used to kick it with that were there, and I didn't know they were there.
Yeah.
Like nobody knows. Like they just think.
So you didn't know that they were there? They didn't know you were there?
I did not.
You found out when you got out?
What the fuck are you doing here? I was like, what are
Wait,
you doing
inside
here?
they saw, as in you saw inside, like you knew it, but you didn't know when you were outside. You didn't know that they were in there. Yeah,
I didn't know they were there. I was like, wow, like it's so amazing how like alone we are, but also how selfish we are. Like we don't really.
It's like once
care.
you get out, or once everyone is really living their own lives. When you're out on the streets, you're doing it together, whatever. But once someone's gone, you gotta continue and go on with your life.
That's why it wasn't like. That's why like when when the boys, they were like, man, Obama, man, you were really the first nigga to leave the hood, man. Like we was really inspired by you, and like I'm doing this now. I'm doing this now because like I saw that you left the hood and you were doing something positive, and I'm doing something. Like I'm doing what I can now, trying to live that lifestyle, But like countless like homies tell me that to this day. They're like, Obama, man, you were the first nigga to fucking live the hood, man. I'm proud of you, man. You fucking really left the hood. And it's crazy because we all have like an American accent. It's the way we
it's the way you communicate. It's the way that you. I had a conversation with my friend a while ago, and we used to talk about how like especially the niggas, the guys will have like this culture, but it's like they kind of, the girls too, like we have our culture that we take, and it is from like America, like it's westernized. But I feel like it's because a lot of us, especially like diaspora, the ones that were born here or even like raised at a really young age, sometimes you go home and you can't I can't fully relate to what's going on in Ethiopia. You know what I mean? I go there, but when I'm there, they're always telling me that you're not from here, and then when I come here, you're like, I'm not the same as the people that I go to school with, I went to school with, or the Aussies. And so like we come together, we have our own culture, right, that we're trying to create. And the only place that we can really look to is what's happening in America, because they're raised in a Western society, right? But they're from there, and so like we pick and choose, and and that's how like you see it a lot with the guys as well. Even when it comes down to like the behavior, the shit that's going on in the area, you know what I mean? It's like where else are they gonna pull from? But I wanted to ask you like how much do you think? And I think a lot of people would like benefit from this is like your like environment and your mindset plays a role into the shift that you made in your life, you know?
Yeah. Oh, environment. It's like I was I was my own psychologist when I was in that juvie room. I was like, I self-analyzed myself. I self-analyzed the world around me. I self-analyzed where I come from. I self-analyzed what I need to do. And the first thing was I was like, okay, you can't be robbing, you can't be stealing anymore. Like you just can't be hurting people. And I remembered my grandma's prophecy as well. Like it was being there. I just heard her say, "You're gonna travel the world, inspire millions of people." I was like, okay, what do I need to do in order to do that? And which was like, all right, cool. I'm from this day on, I'm gonna take full responsibility for my actions. When I get out, I'm only gonna bring joy and positivity into people's lives. I'm never gonna hurt a soul ever again. And I'm gonna take full responsibility for the next year to allow karma to smack me across the face, and I will take full responsibility for that. I deserve that. I deserve that bad thing to happen to me. It's just my karma. I'm gonna let karma do her thing until we're even.
Did it?
Boy, did it. Oh my God. Oh my God, did it. Oh, fucking hell. It tested me.
Yeah.
It tested me. And that was just like, it's like when you make a commitment, God will test you in every, like, to say, oh, you sure? Or are you just gonna, are you all talk, or are you really gonna be, really gonna
are you
be
about
committed?
this? Yeah.
Yeah. And so like that whole year, I was just like every bad thing you can imagine happened to me. Every bad thing you can imagine, you name it, it happened to me.